let's talk about the absolute chaos demon that these librarians' love lives are. Today, we have Gabriella Gamez to talk all about her Librarians in Love series. I had so much fun chatting through each of her books. We talked through The Next Best Fling, Kiss Me Maybe, and then finally her book that released just yesterday as this episode is coming out. The book titled Second First Dates, where we follow Letty and Julian as they navigate very terrible dates, a little bit of brother's best friend, lots of forced proximity, but of course, librarians in love. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast contains mature content intended for adult audiences only. Hello, Gabby. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. When I read your first two books, which the third one is out now, but the first two books, which are The Next Best Fling and Kiss Me Maybe, I was like, I need to have Gabby on my podcast because we need to talk about these books. Please and thank you. Tell us a bit about who you are. If people don't know you, shame. I was like, shame, y'all. Come on, get it together. And a bit about your author journey.
To be fair, there are a lot of books out there. There are a lot of authors out there. The yet to be discovered thing, I feel like that's always a great thing because there are always people who are discovering me for the very first time, even though I've been here for a while. And I always appreciate those new readers. But thank you so much for having me on here to talk all things second first dates and librarians in love. So I am Gabriella Gamez. My first book came out in 2024, and that was The Next Best Fling. And that one was inspired by when I was working at a library during COVID time. We all know how that was, so I needed a little joy in my life. It was actually one of the first romances that I had started writing because I knew pretty much like all my life that I wanted to be a writer and that I wanted to pursue traditional publishing, but I just always assumed that it would be in YA because I was a big reader of YA growing up in middle school and high school, which was also around the time that I had started writing my own. We'll call them books, but that's a generous term for what they were back then. So that's always what I had in the back of my mind is what I was going to do, like whenever I did get published, because something about me, I knew it was going to happen one day, and it did, but just not the way that I thought it would. So yes, it was around COVID time when I was working in the library, come in the first day, everything's semi-normal. Get home, get a call from my boss. Hey, library's shutting down. We're closing. And I'm like, do I still have a job?
Wow, yeah.
Which I did. It was just we closed down, so we weren't allowing any patrons to come in. We eventually let in people to use the computer and stuff like that, but not for browsing, which was very odd. Just didn't feel like I had the true library working experience for that first year, but then eventually got it back as we started opening up. But just as all of that was happening, I just remember I was shelving one day, and it's like a very physical activity. Your mind runs, or you listen to music, or you're basically in your head as you're doing all of these things. Like, how am I going to entertain myself? And then that's kind of how The Next Best Fling came to be, because it was like scenes from that book that were just in my head, or just voices in my head, which I know sounds odd, but if you're a writer, you know, we all have voices in our head. It's our characters speaking to us. And so that's how that book came to be. And then pursued traditional publishing with that. That was, I think, maybe the second or third book that I had ever queried, and then ended up getting an agent with that one right away, which was wild because,
Wow,
I mean,
yeah.
if you've ever queried, if you were ever been a writer pursuing traditional publishing, it's rough out there. It's rejection after rejection, or worse, it's just complete silence for months and months, and then finally they hit you with pass. So that was kind of a wild experience. Got the agent right away, got a book deal shortly after that, which was just wild, and here I am today.
That's so interesting. I'm curious why the traditional route was so appealing to you. Like you said, you'd always known that you wanted to go the traditional route. We interview indie and traditionally published authors here, and I'm always curious on like why you decide to go the direction you go.
I know for me, the cost is a big thing. So the one thing about traditional publishing is like you don't pay at all for an agent to read your book or for publishers to read or anything like that. You don't necessarily need to hire an editor as long as you're drafting and like redrafting and like editing like as cleanly as possible and just doing that all of yourself and maybe relying a little on critique partners and like any like alpha or beta readers that you can just find on your own just through making friends through the community. All of that completely free for all of the hardship and rejection that comes with traditional publishing. Everything is free. You don't have to pay for anything. And the other thing is of like how opaque it is, like just to know and learn how the industry works and like how you get an agent and sort of things like that. I think being very active in the bookish community and the writer community online really helps to make those things more transparent and give you the knowledge that you need to know in order to go forward and continue to have that avenue be as free as possible. So you're not paying for the information that you need either. You can. There are people who try. I don't recommend doing that because there are always so many different free ways to know what you need to know in order to move forward in the best way possible and for your book to end up in the right hands. And that's always been the biggest thing for me is the cost. So it's like when you're agented, you get the book deal. Your agent gets 15% of whatever your advance number is, and then the rest of that money is yours. I don't want to say it's like a more steady way of being paid for your work, but when you compare it to being indie published where you're doing all of that work yourself and paying all of the cost yourself, that can add up, especially if you don't necessarily know what you're doing, which I feel like I definitely would not know what I am doing. I would definitely need like the other way of talking more to indie authors and what they have done in the past and what they recommend if I ever did want to go that route. But that was why I went to traditional publishing too. And also, I am not a control freak. If you're a control freak and you're a writer, indie publishing is probably the way for you to go. You control literally every single avenue of that. I am just like, that overwhelms me. I would rather someone else take the reins on that. And so, yeah, like there are definitely pros and cons to both, especially like the type of personality you have and if you know yourself. There's so many different things to keep in mind. Definitely high pros and high cons for both. But that was just my experience going into it and why I did want to pursue trad publishing versus indie publishing, which I'm not opposed to. Like for the future of going hybrid, there are a lot of really amazing authors who do both. I just don't think I know enough about indie publishing to do that yet.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. We had Adrienne Thurman on at the end of last season, a Black debut author, and I was asking her about the titling, and she was like, "Oh, no, I didn't come up with that. Somebody else picked the
No,
title,
yeah, exactly. That's the
thankfully."
thing too. It's like the titles, my first two titles, I didn't come up with that. I had different titles and they were like, "I don't know if we really like this." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. We'll change it."
With the exchange of money, I feel like you have it's the give and take, right? And you have to
It is
decide what's
definitely a
gonna
give
work
and
for you.
take for sure, for sure.
Let's talk about your first book, The Next Best Fling. I feel like this is the most magical love square that turns into not. That is, oh God, I just love it so much. So tell everybody a bit about it. If you haven't read it, again, shame. But if you haven't read it, what is it about?
Yeah, so the next best fling follows Marcella, who has been in love with her best friend slash college ex for a really long time. And then when he gets engaged, she decides, you know what? It is time for me to move on. This has gone on for too long. Now that this is serious now, this man's about to be married, I need to not have these feelings at all. And I need to do something about that, right? Before she can, she goes to the engagement party where her best friend's older brother comes into town, gets super drunk at the engagement party, and then decides that he's going to tell his brother's fiance his feelings, going to confess his feelings, and basically upend the whole engagement before they even make it down the aisle, whatever. And so Marcella overhears this And she decides that she is going to stop him and be like, hey, you can't do this. You're going to basically ruin your entire relationship with your brother and your family. And there are going to be consequences to this that you were not prepared for. Just, you're really drunk right now. Just come back home with me, sleep it off on my couch. In the morning, you will have a clear head. Everything will be fine, right? And so she does that. And then the morning after, they show up to brunch together and then quickly realizes that everyone there thinks that they hooked up the night before. Because everyone saw them leave together, made their own assumptions. They are now coming to this brunch together. And they all make the wrong assumption, right? And it's not like they can tell them the truth because they don't want to blow Theo's cover. And so they decide to fake date after that. And then maybe they're growing more feelings for each other. They're trying to get over the liking people that they really should not be liking at all because they're in a relationship with each other, actually. It's kind of weird.
Love it. It's such a chaos demon. And I love that so much because, oh God, there's something wonderful about watching other people's train wrecks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm like, give me the tea.
Where's the tea, please? And so I feel like you do that so wonderfully. And what I love is there's that fake dating aspect, right? Because now they're like, okay, now we have to date for pretendsies because no one's supposed to know. The brother, who's also the best friend, is an ass. Yes. And so half the time I wanted to hit Marcel upside the head and be like, do you not see the sweet baby that is Theo? Come on. He's the sweetest. That other guy's a jerk. You don't need him. We don't need him in our lives. So
exactly.
Eventually they get there, but it's so good. Okay, moving on to Kiss Me Maybe, we have Marcella's cousin, correct? They're all cousins in each of the series?
No, Angela is cousins with Julian. So that's where that. So
got it.
Marcella and Angela, they work at the same library, and yeah, they're the true best friends.
Well, she decides to date the internet, which
the whole Sapphic internet, yeah. In order to get her first kiss. She goes viral for an accidental thirst trap. She didn't think it was a thirst trap. The internet decides what it decides and said, hey, we want you. And then she's like, never really dated before, but I kind of want to. Maybe there's an opportunity here. And so she comes up with this idea for a scavenger hunt in order to have her first kiss. Her idea is just to have people compete in a series of steps. Like if whoever wins the scavenger hunt gets to kiss her. The only problem is she's had a thing for the local neighborhood hot bartender named Crystal, who, as they get closer and closer, Crystal decides, hey, this is a lot. I will try to help you organize a scavenger hunt, come up with some ideas, see what can happen. But what happens is instead they grow feelings for each other instead, which kind of throws a wrench into the plans that Angela's already posted and people are expecting. They want to see the scavenger hunt. They want to know what happens. They're invested in her life, but everything's going off of the rails. So
it's so fun. It's chaos. And I love it so much.
Just chaos incarnate. I feel like that's all of my books now.
I'm here for it. You go in knowing exactly what to expect. People who do not have their shit together, and that's okay, right? I feel like
that's realistic. I feel like that's me. It's like I never have my shit together. I'm just like, whatever happens, happens.
But like, even I feel like dating nowadays, and again, I've been out of the game. I'll be celebrating 10 years married tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations.
Recording. Like we have no plans. We're going to wait till we go on vacation with my mother-in-law and do a nice date, close the place down. Typical people who are like homebodies and never go anywhere. So it's been a minute. But from what I'm seeing, the pickings are slim. And of course you would do what you could to try to find love.
Yeah. Yeah, why risk a dating app? You might go through what Julian and Letty go through.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't need that. So I love that you also have ace representation throughout your books. I'm trying to think in the first one, nothing is coming to mind, so correct me if I'm wrong. Is there ace representation in the first one?
In the first one, no.
No? Okay. But in the
No.
second one, you definitely do. She is, would you consider her to be?
So she is graysexual. So she's a
Graysexual.
graysexual lesbian.
One thing that I really liked is even after reading Kiss Me Maybe, and we have an episode, I'll make sure I'll link it in the show notes. We have an episode with Margarita Shala where they talk about how, like, the spectrum of asexuality and aromanticism and, like, the entire realm of all of it and just giving you a better understanding. So go check that episode out for a deep understanding. But really, the whole premise is very similar to autism. If you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. If you've met one ace person, you've met one ace person. Everyone's varyings, because it is a spectrum,
Mm.
is so unique to them and how they approach sexuality and romance. And so I
Mhm.
feel like in Kiss Me Maybe, I was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of have an idea and I kind of understand what graysexual is." And then in reading your new book, Second First Dates, I was like, "Oh, I understand it a little more." Maybe.
Mhm.
Because again, it's so unique to
It's
everyone.
different to everyone. Yeah, I think that's just from personal experience, I think that's why it took so long for me to realize that I was asexual, right? Because I had this one idea of what it meant to be asexual, and then kind of joke all my life, "Ha, maybe I'm asexual." "Ha ha, joke's on you, yes, you are."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also just there not being as much visibility as there could be just within media. Books, I feel like is getting better, but it could also be so much better just in media and TV, movies, things like that. Just the general knowledge of it, I feel, is still pretty low because of like how low that visibility still is. And just like writing Kiss Me Maybe and even Second First Dates was just writing the book that I needed to
Yeah.
find. Just to be like, hey, those ideas that you previously had of what it meant to be asexual, it's just like it's so much wider than you even know. And so that's like why I was so determined to write Kiss Me Maybe, especially, just like, because that's what I needed a long time ago. I was like 24 or 25 when I finally realized, oh, I think I am asexual. And just like,
Right.
it would have given me a lot of answers a lot sooner in life that I think I could have used.
Yeah. I think that representation in seeing not only maybe what you're feeling reflected, but also understanding other people's experience.
Yeah.
Romance is such a beautiful way of portraying that, where I'm allosexual, meaning the other side, not ace, and
Yeah.
I can have sexual attraction towards people. I don't really need to get to know them, so I'm not demisexual. It doesn't mean I'm promiscuous in any way, right? Just the idea.
Yeah, it's the sexual attraction part, and that's what I think a lot of people misunderstand about
Right.
being demisexual in general is, "Oh, like, that's just a normal person." No, it's the feelings you have. It doesn't necessarily mean you're acting on those feelings.
We
Oh.
don't act on
Yeah,
all the feelings.
yeah, exactly. There may be so many other misunderstandings of what it means to be ace. People have such a hard time thinking about, like, other things from, like, other people's point of views.
Right.
They're, I think, stuck on, like, what they would do in a certain situation, and then if someone does the wrong thing or doesn't do what they would do, then, "Oh, I don't understand you. What are you doing?" Like, type of a thing. It's not that hard to have empathy and
Right.
to put yourself in other people's shoes every once in a while and see things from where they are and just try to understand what their thought process is. I think a lot of people, most people maybe, just don't wanna do that anymore
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah. I think stories give us the ability to do that, right?
Yeah.
Seeing someone else's experience. And even one thing I'm constantly asking my kids is, how do you think that person feels? Or how do you think that
Mm,
person's day is going that they decided to act that way? What do you think's maybe going on in their life? No, we don't have to take it if they're being mean to us. No, we don't
yeah.
have to be nice to them. We do need to be
Mhm.
kind. We're kind always. And also, you don't have to take trash from people if you don't want to. That's okay. You get to
Yeah.
just be like, you can
Yeah.
sit with that. But also just having that consideration of What do you think might be happening in their life? Because you never know what someone else is going through or experiencing. But I feel like stories and romance, especially, because it's like you come for the smut and the smooching, but just stay for the other stuff, right? The human
Yeah.
experience that we get to see reflected. So let's talk about your third book. In it, speaking of the ace representation, you have a demisexual male main character, which I don't think we see enough of, and I absolutely love when we see that. And then you have a graysexual female main character, and the male main character is also bisexual. So let's get into what people can expect from your book that just came out yesterday as of the release of this episode. Everybody go buy it, purchase it from your local bookstore, borrow it from your library, all of the ethical ways, don't make me fight you, to get books.
Second first dates, we follow Letty and Julian, who were also side characters in Kiss Me Maybe, and the end of that book sets up where we see them at the start of this book. So we follow Letty and Julian, who match on a dating app, and when this happens, Letty is excited, but also thinking, like, this guy looks a little bit familiar to me. I'm not exactly sure why. And then puts it out of her head as they message back and forth, come up with a plan to go out on a first date. And then they do. And then it goes sideways a little bit where he's late. He is ranting about people getting married too young and having kids too young and all of that. And just, he's not on his game at all. And then just puts the nail in the coffin when he grabs a sushi roll off of her plate and eats it right in front of her. And she's immediately like, okay, first of all, this date is bad. This is a dud. Why did we agree to this? And second of all, now I recognize you because 4 years ago, we went on a first date and it was just as terrible as it is now. And so that's the start there. But it doesn't end because at the end of the night, she realizes that they not only live in the same apartment building, he is also her younger brother's roommate and best friend. And she has a lot of contention with her younger brother. And so she's like, ugh, I practically hate my brother and you're his best friend and you're living with him. No wonder this date was so bad. Not only that, just to throw another wrench into the forced proximity, they also work at the same school. And so she literally cannot get rid of this man and is just like, what is happening right now? Eventually, she goes on another first date. She's like, I have to get out of this rut. Maybe the next date will be better. Everything will be fine, blah, blah, blah. And then that date also goes south. But who should be at the table right next to her? Julian again, because she literally, quite literally, cannot get rid of this man. And so as they're talking and he's making her feel better about what happened on this date and everything, the next day he comes up with this idea and says, hey, why don't you let me take over your dating apps? Maybe I can find someone better for you since you really can't seem to find someone better for yourself. And I know I was one of those people. Maybe this is some way I can try and make this up to you. And then she reluctantly agrees. And so he starts taking over her dating app and trying to find other people for her to date. Meanwhile, falling for her, but being in denial about it until he can't quite anymore. And he's like, oh shit, what have I done? This is terrible. And then she finds herself falling for him as well, which is very complicated because she's also now dating other people that he found for her. So that's them.
I love the chaos. It is, oh man. Okay, so I had to tell my husband about this whole first date scenario. I was like, babe, imagine this. And when I said truffle fries and he ate the old bag, my husband was like, no, throw the whole man out. No.
Exactly.
What do you mean? He ate truffle fries are expensive. What do you
They are.
And I was like, you get it. You get it. But I am someone who hates sharing my food. Like,
Mhm.
even with my kids. I know that makes me a bad mom, I don't care.
No, it's not. You deserve
Like,
your
"Can I
food.
have can I" I will very begrudgingly share, but there better be more for me left after the
Mhm.
sharing. Like,
Yeah,
just
exactly, exactly.
very begrudgingly. And so that whole, like, that hit my heart on so many levels, and I was like, "Oh, this man. Throw him out. Throw the man out." And, like, when you hear his point of view, like, he's like, "I was a college student. I didn't even like, I realized how expensive they were. At that point, I was just like, we're in too deep already anyways."
Yep.
Such a dude thing to think. And so oh my goodness. Okay. What I love about this story, everybody go read it, but what I love about it is you have such a interesting dynamic that I don't think we see enough in romance, and that is 2 Latinx leads.
Mm,
And their understanding of the favoritism and the machismo that is in Hispanic families. And so he like, when she explains, "I have this massive distrust and offensiveness about my brother." He's like, "But
mm,
he like, I know this side of him, and I don't know what you're talking about, but I" then when he sees it reflected is, "Oh, I understand. It's not exactly the brother, it's how the parents interact with the brother or treat him as better than, and how he pushes himself, which he shouldn't be doing anyway, but pushes himself to be the perfect son to his parents for whatever reason. His choices are
yeah.
his choices." And so having that reflected in him understanding, having that also Latino family where, his dad does not talk to him because he is bisexual. And then one conversation that happens in the book that I absolutely loved as a bisexual was Julian's talking to his cousin and their partner, Marcella and Theo are there. And he's saying, "I feel like I gave up this relationship with my dad based on the idea that I'm bisexual only to end up with a woman."
Mm,
And I was like, "Oh, my heart."
yeah.
All the feelings, and it was just such a real moment of being bisexual in a very heteronormative world, and them also being like, "No, your dad was trash anyway. You are better off without him, sweetie, and so is your mother, clearly. She is better off
Mhm,
without him, so that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what choices led to that. He made his choices to be trash, so, like, he can be
mhm,
trash over there. It doesn't matter who you end up with. That is not a reflection. Like, your choices were not a reflection of his actions. His actions are a reflection of his actions and his beliefs." And I found that so healing. And so, yes, thank you.
Oh.
Why was that an important kind of aspect to this story as you were creating Julian as a bisexual, demisexual male main
Mhm.
character, also being Latino?
I just felt like that was an important moment for him because you also see a lot of that strife that he carries when he's in Kiss Me Maybe, and he's dealing with the fallout of what's going on with his parents and his father basically refusing to accept him. And just dealing from the fallout of that and just maybe even some misplaced guilt for splitting up his family or, like, making everyone choose sides, which, first of all, if you have to choose sides over something like that because you can't accept him for who he is, that's a shitty reason. You're
Right.
maybe a shitty person for not being able to see past that. And I think it's just something so prevalent that I see is the homophobia within this community and just thinking about ways that I grew up with my own family members and just we were kind of like you mentioned religious trauma before we got on the podcast recording, and that was definitely a huge piece of that just for me and trying to get over my own biases that I had because of the way that I grew up and just figuring out my own identity and what I am and things like that. And just a lot of really hard stuff that I had to move past all on my own because of the way that I grew up and maybe family members not realizing just how destructive and bad those beliefs are and how deeply they can affect people, especially children when they're growing up and they are trying to learn about themselves as well. And I think that's why it was really important for me to write that scene the way that I did with Julian and just really getting into his situation and his thought process of like how he went through that whole thing. And I feel like it's a very real experience too, because of like how much, again, like the misplaced guilt he had, and then what was it all for? So that just
Right.
he could fall in love with a woman. If he had never come out, then none of this ever would have happened, type of a thing. Which is, again, that sort of misplaced guilt, but it's misplaced because he wanted to be accepted for who he is. And I don't think that's something that anyone should ever have to apologize for. And that's the conversation that he has with everyone in that room. And just now he's surrounded by the people who accept him for who he is, no matter what, right? And that's, I think, at the end of the day, found family is also another thing that I always love in books, because if you don't find that acceptance within your family as you should, then the best thing that you can do for yourself is to find that somewhere else with your own friends and people who support you no matter what and no matter who you are. And that was just my whole thing with that.
Yeah, I think it was such an important conversation and gutted while also feeling so affirmed because I do think, yeah, there's so much biphobia. There's so much, even in the LGBTQIA plus community,
Mhm.
bisexuals aren't real queer people, right? There's a lot of that as well. And it can be hard just being like, this is who I am. Again, it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that I act on every inclination or every
Yeah.
impulse to want to be with somebody, but this is what I
Mhm.
find attractive, and that is what it is. It's just one piece of who I am.
Exactly.
You also have the double virgin in
I
this.
do.
Oh my
I
god. I
do.
love it. I love it so much. There is so much discussion around what feels good, lots of foreplay, lots of pre-play, lots of all of that stuff. Why was having that double virgin aspect important for this, as well as those moments that led up to the quote unquote big event? And I just literally mean insertion. There were events that happened before that were still very intimate and very beautiful and very purposeful for moving the story along. So yeah,
Mhm.
as you were kind of coming up with these characters, that double virgin trope, I don't think we see it enough, and I love it.
Thank you. Part of the reason why I did that was because I feel like we don't see it a whole lot. I think now there's a lot of discussion about either people not liking seeing virgin characters, especially women, and I almost view it as an overcorrection for a lot of past slut shaming in romance that happened as soon as 10 years ago. There's some books from there where it's like the woman is always a virgin and then the guy is always the playboy who has been around town, knows what he's doing type of a thing. And it was always that sort of dynamic throughout. And then there's been a shift, which I do feel like was needed because I feel like that reflects more of what life actually is and what life actually looks like for a lot of women who like, hey, we have had previous relationships, we have had sex before. That's not a whole thing anymore, really. And just, I think seeing that reflected more is important. However, I feel like there's also a bit of a flip or a bit of an overcorrection where now virgin heroines or even virgin heroes are seen as unrealistic, or there's some subset of readers who don't want to see that at all. They have their own personal reasons, which I think is perfectly fine. But I think just having these two also be ace characters is also another important aspect of like why they are still virgins, and just see what their dating histories look like. And we haven't quite gotten there yet. Granted, they are still pretty young. Letty's about 26, Julian's about 24, something like that. And now I think we're seeing that more and more with newer generations that are having sex a lot less than the previous generation before them. Maybe a lot of that, I don't know if I'm like psychoanalyzing now. Maybe a lot of that has to do with the phone thing and social media and increasing isolation and things like that. And just dating apps are now the major way that people find their partners and date, if they even get that far, because again, the dating landscape is trash right now. And just not a lot of people are dating maybe as frequently as they would like to be.
In this
And
economy.
in this economy, exactly, exactly. So I think all of those things factor into the choice of why they are still virgins. And it felt like the right choice for those characters and them not having a whole lot of dating history in their past or experience. Just being like patchy, does this even count type of a thing, especially with Letty, who had her like situationship, who didn't really want to call it a relationship. And I think that's something that I thought was important to show because I feel like that's happening a lot more than people acknowledge or recognize.
Yeah, and you would see a lot of the opposite social media, people maybe hyperbolizing on their experiences or
Mhm.
even TV and things like that and media. There's so much like sex, 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 when
Yeah.
that's not always the case, right? Or everyone's situation is very different or looks very different. Yeah. And again, your upbringing has so much to do with how you approach this
Oh, yeah.
intimacy
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, or how comfortable you are thinking about it, talking about it, being about it, right? Like all of the different
Yeah.
aspects
Yeah.
to it. There's so much. But what I love about what your story had was you had those discussions and the sneaking in where she didn't mean to moments where Letty was like, I'm not attracted to him like I'm attracted to you, like sexually. And he was like, hold up a minute. Wait a minute. What do you mean? And she's
Like,
like,
oh, what
nothing.
did you say?
Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Goodbye. I hate you. Like, and
Exactly, exactly.
love it so much. You have in this one, a female main character that I would consider unlikable. Not that I didn't like her. I liked her a lot, obviously. But I think in the grand scheme of things, she was unlikable to other people, not her core circle or her friend group or any of that stuff. Like the people who knew her understood her.
Mm.
Why was that important for this character, but also in exploring that a little bit more? I feel like your other characters, there weren't really any that were they were generally likable, whereas Letty was different, I feel like, than a lot of your other characters.
Yeah. You know what's funny was the first thing I thought of was there's that TikTok video of I think it's the either the older sister, like the sister who's happier away from family, and it's like when she's with the friends and everything, she's smiling, she's laughing, and then when back home, she's just the angry child or the one who's never understands or type of a thing. And that's every time I see that, I'm like, that's Letty to a
Right.
T. That is Letty. I tend to like an unlikable heroine. I wish that there were more, and honestly, I wish there was a more nuanced conversation around unlikable characters because sometimes you're an unlikable character in your own life,
Yeah.
depending on who you're with, and especially family. They can bring out sides of you that you wish you could bury or you wish didn't exist in this own special way that only they can, that only people who have known you your entire life can. And I think that was something so interesting to explore with Letty. And it was not only fun, but I think just so interesting of diving into who she is, what her past looks like with her family, and just how there are so many hurt feelings that can come up through childhood and everything like that. And just especially old wounds that have never healed right, which was definitely Andrew for her, but really their parents, and just having all of that kind of stem from them and just the different ways that they treated these 3 kids. And that's another thing that I see a lot too on TikTok was like, you can live in the same house. You did not have the same childhood as your sister or your brother just because of the relationships with your parents can be so different. I think especially in a Latinx household, because you mentioned it before, of the favoritism, especially with sons,
Yeah. They
always
can
with
do no
sons.
wrong.
Yeah, and then if you try to go against that norm, they really try to teach you when you're a girl or you're just trying to teach you for womanhood, whatever
Yeah.
that even means. And just Letty being like, I am not having any of that. Just, I want to carve my own path. I don't care if you guys like it or not, type of a thing, because you've never really liked anything that I do.
Yeah, she owns herself and what she wants her path to be in such a wonderful way, and I love how Julian comes in and kinda stands between her and others. I feel like he's holding her back most of the time, but also being like, "Y'all need to get it together, and I will
Mhm.
not let you continue to do this, and this is how you're gonna show up." I just it's
Yes,
not that she
yes.
necessarily needed it or wanted it or had that expectation that he would come in and swoop in that way, but she also kinda secretly loves it,
Yes.
which I
Oh,
love.
she's never had that before. So I think just for her, it's like almost like a surprise. Oh, like I really did not think that I would ever have anyone on my side. And I think he's definitely the buffer that she needs. And especially just like him having his own relationship with Andrew, but just coming into this family, just like he has a lot more context, I think, to this situation and how he can go between them.
Yeah, and he challenges her too, right? To be
Yeah,
better, to
when
do
she's wrong.
better. She
Mhm.
don't like it. We get it. But I think that it's such an important part of both of them growing and understanding each other better and him being like, "Look,
Mhm.
maybe just have a conversation. I'm not telling you what you need to do, but you kinda should have this conversation. But I'm still here. I'm still in your corner. This doesn't mean that I'm in his corner and not yours. It just means
Exactly.
just doing a little nudging. That's it."
Yeah. And I think that's what the best relationships do too. It's not just be always on your side even when you are obviously in the wrong. It's
Right.
challenging each other when you are in the wrong and to do better and to do the right thing, which is what he pushes her to do, even though, again, she doesn't like it
No.
because she's caught in this cycle with Andrew and she doesn't wanna end it, but he's like, "No, it has to end. It does, and it really does have to."
Yeah, you get to a point where it's like, "Y'all gotta move on. Either
Yeah,
this is gonna work or it's not. Let's go. Duke it
1000%,
out."
yeah. Duke it out, exactly, exactly.
Okay, everybody go check out Second First Dates. It is available, like I said, wherever you purchase or borrow your books legally. We do not pirate books. There's a lot on the interwebs today
Go to
about
the
pirating. Go to
library.
the library, please, and borrow the book. So, where can people find you? What is your favorite social media platform where we can connect with you, connect with your content, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, that'll probably be Instagram. I am there at Gabby Writes a Lot.
Awesome. And we'll have links for that in the show notes, as well as the other episodes that we mentioned, the asexual spectrum with Margarita Shala, as well as the episode with Adrian Thurman, where we talked about how to pick a book title or not to, just get a publisher to do it for you, and all of your links as well. Gabby, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks so much for having me. This was incredible. I love this.